Hello everybody, my name is Jay and welcome back to my Tech Vault, and unlike most of the videos that I do at my table, I thought the best way to do this video was actually at my desk. And that's because we're talking about a keyboard, and this is not just any keyboard, this is the keyboard that I use. And one of the biggest things for me is when I do these reviews, I like to do reviews, some at the beginning when I get a product, like a first look, what I think of it right off the bat. And then some of the most valuable reviews are, of course, the reviews that you have after you've gone a couple days, or not a couple days, in this case, a couple months, using a product, and you really want, that in-depth look. I had a video that I did on a year use of the last keyboard that I had, and then I went to upgrade to this one. And obviously that video was really popular, with fair reason, of course, and that's what I'm going to do again, kind of in this video. So, basically I'm going to give an overhead, comprehensive review of pretty much this keyboard. This, I believe, is the Redragon, let's see if I can name this correctly, K580 RGB VATA keyboard. And I wanted to make a video about this because while I don't know the name, I have been using it for a bit. I just did clean it. And so this is something that I've been using, I'm very familiar with, and I want to talk about a couple things. So first off, number one, right off the bat, these keys are of course what you're going to be touching. And if I were to have the highest criticism of this keyboard itself, it'd be the fact that these keycaps are not the most highest quality or highest, feeling keycaps. There's, of course, in a long list, there's some polished, smooth keycaps, which is my personal preference. I feel like the plastic is higher quality. The keycaps as well are kind of a little, I don't know, flimsy, if that's the right word, but more, I guess, I guess flimsy would be the right word. They're just not super solid on that part. Like, obviously, compared to some regular keycaps, they're okay, but these are definitely a little bit more on the flimsy side and a little less higher quality. Now, therefore, for the rest of the, I guess, keyboard, the switch themselves are, I believe it's Odinato Blues, and these are some, compared to the regular switches or competitor switches, I forget the name, Cherry MX Blues. These are pretty loud and clicky as well. I don't know if you can hear that, but that's a pretty loud click. And that's how I like my keyboards. Obviously people like their preferences, and so I'm not going to blame you. Now, one of the other things that I would recommend or mention to keep in mind is if you're one of those typers that likes to bottom out your keys, so for example you get that nice loud bottom out. That's actually pretty a problem for me because I taught myself to type when I was younger. I never took classes just because I was always busy, and so I do a lot more of the hard typing, and so that's actually quite a big problem. So when I'm playing games, it's not the clickiness that's the problem, it's the fact that you're always hearing, when you're getting into it, that's pretty much a problem. So sometimes they put the rubber key stoppers, which of course you can always add, but they're not included, so you're allowed to, you have the ability to add them to the bottom of the keys, which I'm actually highly considering, but they don't come with it, which of course at this kind of price point around $60, I guess it really isn't something you include in that budget. Overall though, a couple other things I'd like to point out though, is this keyboard is really nice for the fact that it's got some really cool effects. So as you can see, I've got like this rainbow raindrop kind of effect right now. This is actually my personal favorite. But there's a couple other ones, I believe, if you put function end or something, you've got that one, and this one just changes up a long list of RGB effects. There's another one. You've got a long list of different RGB effects that you can do, and key effects, so whatever you type is pretty much just lasting. And then there's a couple other ones too. You've got a long list of effects pretty much, and then of course there's my favorite. Honestly, the effects are really cool. You can do a lot of programming through the software, so the effects I would say is, and the backlighting is pretty good. I would say it's probably, compared to some of the other keyboards I reviewed, it's definitely up there for this price point. It's definitely a good deal. Up to the macros, you've got about 5 macro keys, and you've got a recording key. In my time of using this, the macro keys were actually, the software itself is quite difficult to program. It's a little confusing. It takes a while to get used to. Compared to some of the other softwares that I've done macros with, this is pretty challenging to use. The record button I haven't really tested. these buttons actually have a lot of problems. So this one, these don't work with like YouTube or anything. You've got to go through and some of the software and stuff. So like if you've got the Groove Music or the stuff that Microsoft includes, then I think that's the only case that would work. I believe volume, I think that mutes. I haven't used it. I just used the volume bar right here. This is what this does, is it turns up and down the volume. This is actually solid metal, this bar right here, so it's actually pretty nice. And then on the sides, there's this really nice RGB effect. You can also control this. I don't remember exactly how. I kind of have it set at this mode. It does have a couple options like saying solid and things like that. I do like it at this mode, so I haven't really ever changed it. I did mess around with it once when I got it. As for the sturdiness of this keyboard, it's actually surprisingly pretty sturdy. This is quite heavy, and it does have like this nice metal consistency. It's also metal on the top, and it's actually pretty solid. You've got all of your indicators as well for switches. This little bit of up here though is kind of plasticky, and it does feel a little less quality as well. The back though is also pretty good. You've got your standard, stand-ups. You don't have two levels though. I usually prefer that when they have one stand up and then a second one for your height preference, but you really don't get that here, which is kind of disappointing. So I'm a little disappointed in that preference. One of the big things though that I did enjoy though is this keyboard itself actually came with a lot of different key switches to replace. So for example, here is the box of key switches. You also got a couple different key grabbers, I guess is the right word. So in here you've got your list, a bunch of different switches that you can replace, and then in case one of these go bad, or they've got a couple other different types. I believe they've got some blues, some reds, and they've got even some browns and some blacks. So the blacks, of course, are the regular switches that make no noise except when the bottom's out. You've got some browns that make a slight bit of noise. I believe, no, these don't make any noise either. No noise there. They've got some reds, which are also quiet, and then they've got the blues to replace as well, that of course make that nice clicky noise. So they've included that as well in case you have some preferences you'd like to swap out. Swap out some of your most heavily used keys, or something like that. You've got these really nice key pickers as well. Just pop that in and grab it away. So that's going to pretty much be my overall review of this keyboard. This is the keyboard I use though. So like if a lot of YouTubers will be like, hey, we're going to review this keyboard, but I don't use it. Well, this is what I've noticed, as I said, when I've been using it. As for the wear and tear, this plastic does get a little bit worn down. It's more like a matte kind of feel. So after a bunch of use, especially on the keys that I use a lot, it's actually quite smooth. It's not really a problem, but it does kind of collect dirt a little bit easier, and of course it's also an issue if your fingers slide a little bit. But honestly, it's not really a big issue. It's just what you'd expect after using it for a bit. So as I said, that's going to be my review. Let me know your thoughts, comments and stuff down below. This is a weird kind of style of video, but I figured it needed to kind of be up close and personal to kind of represent something that I use on a daily basis. And as always, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and give the video a thumbs up if it helped you. I'll also probably put a link to this if you're interested down below in the comments, or maybe in the description, who knows. But thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.